I guess on the first episode, I said, my cars are going to shape the world. Taken from everything. I'm not happy with all my mistakes.
For years, he welded in silence, smiled for the cameras, and built dream cars from literal junk. His motto, "It's not what you have, it's what you can make," became an anthem for every backyard builder who saw a hero in the man from Canning, Nova Scotia. But behind the roar of engines and the flash of chrome, a much darker story was unfolding. At 53, Chad Hiltz, the man the world knows as Bad Chad, has finally admitted the one thing fans have whispered about for years. It's not about the money, the fame, or the stress of reality TV. It's deeper, it's more personal, and it has left his followers both heartbroken and furious. In a moment of raw honesty, he confessed the truth he felt he had to hide for decades. So, what could possibly push a man so bold, so unapologetically himself, to conceal a secret for so long? The truth is now out, and it changes everything we thought we knew about him. Before he was Bad Chad, he was just Chad Hiltz, a kid born on August 31st, 1971, in the small village of Kingsport, Nova Scotia. His parents, Doug and Patricia, Hiltz, ran the local gas station, so Chad grew up surrounded by the smell of oil and the sight of steel. Cars weren't just a hobby, they were in his blood. While other kids were in class, Chad was in the garage. He dropped out of high school at 16, gave an auto body course a try, but quickly realized no classroom could contain his chaotic creativity. Life hit him hard and fast. He took tough jobs at a grain mill and a chicken processing plant, bounced between homes, and at times even slept in the back of a car. He had his share of run-ins with the law and fell in with the wrong crowds. For a while, it seemed like he was destined to be another burnout with a short fuse and no future. But even then, a vision was taking shape. He had no money, no fancy tools, and definitely no high-end shop. What he did have was grit and an unshakable belief that you could build something beautiful out of something broken. This wasn't a gimmick, it was a necessity. In a town with no hot rod shops, he had to be resourceful, learning to see treasure where others only saw trash. Old lockers, kitchen cabinet knobs, discarded airplane parts, it was all fair game. He wasn't just fixing cars, he was giving forgotten metal a second chance, a story that would later resonate with millions. He eventually opened Green Goblin Customs, named after one of his iconic early builds, and it was in that small, hand-built garage that the legend of Bad Chad was born. He was the underdog, the rebel who refused to play by the industry's rules. While others wore pristine uniforms, he wore ragged t-shirts, unafraid to use a kitchen spoon to spread paint if it got the job done. To the purists, he was a madman. To his followers, he was a genius. This raw authenticity drew people in, but it was his team that cemented the brand. His fiancée, Jolene McIntyre, was the sharp, business-minded force who recognized his genius and knew how to market it. She started posting his builds online, and the world took notice. Then there was his son, Colton, the quiet apprentice who shared his father's passion. Together, they were the heart of the Bad Chad universe. Chad, the mad artist, Jolene, the steady hand, and Colton, the next in line. They were a family building an empire out of rust and sheer willpower, crafting a public image of rebellion and resilience that would soon be tested by fame itself. The leap from a local Nova Scotia builder to an international TV star was shockingly fast. The project that lit the fuse was a stunning replica of a 1938 Bugatti Type 57 SC Atlantic that Chad was building for Jolene. In 2016, Jolene, armed with a commerce degree, started posting weekly updates on social media. The videos were raw and real, showing Chad's almost magical ability to shape metal with basic tools. The internet loved it, and soon, so did television executives. In 2019, Bad Chad Customs premiered on the Discovery Channel, launching the Hiltz family into a new stratosphere of fame. The show was an immediate hit, not just for the wild cars, but for Chad himself. He was eccentric, brutally honest, and radiated an energy that was impossible to ignore. He was the wizard who, as his neighbors joked, could coax a Bugatti out of a chicken coop. The show's premise was simple. Watch Chad, Jolene, and Colton turn scrap into showstoppers on a shoestring budget. Viewers were hooked, but the glamour of television came with a price. Behind the scenes, the pressure was mounting. Chad later said the network wanted to crank up the drama for ratings, pushing for more on-screen fights and manufactured chaos. He felt like he was becoming a character, an amplified, unbreakable version of Bad Chad, and the performance was exhausting. He hid the strain, worried that showing any vulnerability would disappoint the millions of fans who saw him as an icon of strength. It was during this peak that the whispers started. While fans loved him, a growing number of critics emerged online. Forums and comment sections became battlegrounds where self-proclaimed experts and traditional builders called his work impractical, gimmicky, and even unsafe. They dismissed him as a TV mechanic, more showman than craftsman. For every fan who saw a genius, there was a critic who saw a fraud. Viewers began to question what was real. Was the family dynamic on screen the whole truth? And was the immense pressure of fame and criticism starting to take a toll? Some noticed a flicker in his eyes, a distance that wasn't there before. People suspected something was going on behind the curtain. They just didn't realize how right they were. The Bad Chad customs empire, which seemed unstoppable, came to a sudden halt. After a successful second season in 2020, a third was in the works. Chad had even told fans they were set to start filming. But then, the world shut down. The global pandemic created a production nightmare, and for a small, hands-on show like theirs, the logistical and financial hurdles were too high. Season 3 was first delayed, then permanently canceled. The cancellation was a devastating blow, both professionally and personally. The end of the show felt like losing a part of their identity. On top of that, their small business faced the same struggles as countless others: supply chain issues, financial strain, and the mental toll of global uncertainty. The once bustling shop went quiet. With no official word from the network, fan speculation exploded online. Why the radio silence? Rumors swirled. Some claimed Chad never actually finished his projects. Others insisted that creative disagreements with producers had killed the TV deal for good. People felt something was wrong, but they didn't know how bad it was. This is where the suspicion, the feeling that something was being hidden, truly took hold. The official story was the pandemic, a tragic but understandable reason for the show's end, but many fans felt there had to be more to it. They'd seen the online criticism and sensed the pressure. They suspected that the confident, carefree genius on their screens was masking a deeper struggle. The silence after the show's cancellation only fueled their belief that the Bad Chad empire was a beautiful but fragile house of cards. They were waiting for Chad to admit that the dream they were sold was, in reality, a desperate and exhausting fight for survival. The confirmation didn't come with a dramatic TV special, but in a quiet, unscripted video on his YouTube channel, a world away from the slick production of his Discovery show. There were no roaring engines or fancy camera work. It was just Chad, sitting in his workshop looking tired, human, and stripped of the persona he'd carried for years. Looking straight into the camera, he confirmed the truth his most perceptive. Fans had long suspected. The secret wasn't some huge scandal. It was the crushing hidden reality of his life behind the myth. He admitted he'd been dealing with severe anxiety and depression, fueled by the immense pressure and relentless negativity of public life. "I've been pretending to be stronger than I am," Chad confessed, "but I'm done with that now." He revealed that the Bad Chad persona was a shield, and maintaining it had come at a terrible price. The most shocking part was the depth of the pain he'd hidden. He spoke about the constant flood of hate mail and online attacks, calling him a fraud and a hack. The criticism had become deeply personal, mocking his intelligence, his character, and even his relationship with Jolene. The pressure to be the legend everyone wanted was unbearable. Then, he revealed a physical symbol of this secret burden. For years, he had been printing out the cruelest messages and hiding them in a drawer in his shop. No one knew, not his team, not even Jolene. That drawer became a collection of all the pain he felt he couldn't show the world. He admitted this hidden struggle had drained him, stripping the joy from the very act of creating that had once been his salvation. This was the core of his admission, the confirmation that the effortless genius on TV was an illusion. In reality, he was a man quietly falling apart. The reaction was explosive and deeply divided. Many fans flooded his comments with love and support, thanking him for his bravery, but others reacted with fury. They had invested in the myth of the unbreakable maverick who was immune to criticism. He was their hero, a symbol of hope. To learn that this fantasy was built on a foundation of hidden pain felt like a betrayal. The man they looked up to was struggling just like them, and for some, that dose of reality was a truth they weren't ready to accept. In the wake of his confession, Chad Hiltz went from a TV character back to a human being, freed from the constraints of network television. He fully embraced YouTube, not just as a new platform, but as a way to reclaim his passion. With Jolene still managing the business and Colton back in the shop, Hiltz Auto Co. entered a new era. Their digital presence exploded. They started producing daily, unfiltered content, showing the mistakes, the long hours, and the real-time problem-solving that TV had edited out. This resonated with a massive audience. His YouTube channel grew to hundreds of thousands of subscribers, with viewership that far surpassed his old show. This newfound success, fueled by sponsorships and merchandise, was what actually paid for major expansions to their shop, not the TV money. This financial independence gave him total creative freedom. He was no longer building for producers. He was building for himself and a community that loved him for it. He started traveling the world for appearances at car shows in places like Australia and Sweden, met by legions of loyal fans. Most importantly, he returned to the project that mattered most. After years on the back burner, work officially resumed on the Bugatti replica for Jolene, the very car that had launched him into the spotlight. His confession didn't tarnish his legacy. It redefined it. He proved his talent was real, with or without TV cameras. But more than that, he started a vital conversation about mental health and the pressures of fame. He taught his followers a lesson more valuable than any welding. Technique? That true strength isn't about being unbreakable. It's about having the courage to admit when you're broken and the resilience to build yourself back up, piece by piece. The story of Bad Chad Hiltz is a powerful lesson about the cost of fame and the space between who we are and who the world wants us to be. For years, we were sold the myth of a rebel genius who was untouched by the pressures that break most people. He was a symbol of pure, raw talent. But his admission at 53 revealed a far more compelling truth. He confirmed the whispers, not of some grand deception, but of a quiet human struggle. He admitted the invincible icon was a character, and the man playing the part was suffering under its weight. In the end, by trading the artificial spotlight of television for the unfiltered reality of YouTube, Chad Hiltz didn't lose his magic. He found it again. He reclaimed his passion, his family, and his own story, proving that his greatest creation wasn't a car, but the resilient, honest life he is now building for himself. His journey is a powerful reminder that sometimes the most rebellious thing you can do is simply be yourself, flaws and all. What do you think? Was Chad's confession an act of bravery or a betrayal of the myth? Let us know in the comments. And if you want more deep dives into the stories behind the automotive world's most fascinating figures, be sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell.